Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Taylor and today is a crochet and chat. We're going to be talking about 2025 in review. 2025 was a big year for me and I have talked about that quite a lot over the past maybe week or two as I've been doing like yearly roundups on things like the best nonfiction, the best graphic novels, and all that sort of stuff. But I kind of wanted to sit down and just talk about life in 2025. So don't forget to grab your projects and please like the video and subscribe for more content like this. I am at the end of posting every single day for the month of December, so I will be going back to more of a regular filming schedule because posting every day is not sustainable for me. I would love to have you come on this journey with us in this little corner of the internet. Right now I am working on a baby blanket. I have a baby shower to go to in a few weeks and they are having a boy, and so I just grabbed some stuff from my stash and I've been working on it. I think it's turning out really well. I think the best way to go about this might just be going month by month. What I want to do is just start at January and go all the way down to December. I don't have any notes for each month, so it's just kind of be off the dome. So in January, I started coaching for the first time. Our season started in January. I was so scared and so nervous. I had 10 students on my team and I was really just trying to get my feet underneath me. Me and my assistant coach were just kind of like getting to know each other, learning to like how we work together. And it's really nice because like right off the bat we worked pretty well together. Like it didn't feel like there was a lot of learning curves to that. We were trying to get everyone up to speed. I thought I could wear this cardigan and I'm so warm in here. We were trying to get everyone up to speed. A lot of people had to write their own pieces and honestly that ended up being a little bit too short of a time frame in my opinion, which is why I did in December start the season then for some returners to give them time to write their speeches, because I don't know what it is, students they need to be like given very specific times like, hey, come to practice, write your speech. And that's just how I guess like my students work, and it's not a big deal for me to go and like give them that space and that time. Also in January I came into the year dating someone else, and this is not a dig on them. I really hope that they are having a good life. We decided to part ways because ultimately we really wanted different things out of life. Like we aligned on a lot of stuff, but when it came down to like 5 years from now sort of thing, we just did not want the same things. And so we did have to part ways on that. And I was feeling really sad about that. I felt, oh my gosh, like I did it again. Like I really thought that I was intentional this time. I thought that I had done everything right. And so I just was like, you know what, F it, I'm not dealing with this anymore. Like I'm not gonna, like I need to put all of my energy into speech. I need to give myself to these kids and they can't, I can't be heartbroken and not be a good coach to them because of it. And this was really the first time where I felt like I had these responsibilities outside of myself, and I really had to think like I need to show up for them. So like even if I feel like I can't show up for myself. And honestly, coaching really helped me get through my winter blues because it gave me something to keep going. I get more like spring summer blues, but I am a Midwesterner and I am like clinically depressed and medicated for it. So as the winter drones on, sometimes it can just get to me a little bit. So I was, starting coaching, doing all that stuff. And then we get into February and we start going to our competitions. And competitions are on Saturdays. If you know, like forensics, speech debate, those are always on Saturdays. And so that's a lot of time to give up. I gave up every single Saturday and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Driving to the high school for that first meet, and we actually went to the tournament where when I was in high school, that used to be our first tournament. Like I was tearing up driving to the high school and I was just like, oh my god, like this full circle moment. This was something I loved so much in high school and I'm so excited to be able to share that with a new generation of speech kids. And so it was very emotional for me. Not in like a bad way. It was mostly just like I was in my head, I was driving, and it felt so good. And honestly, like it felt so right. Have you ever had those moments in life where you're like, this feels like what I'm supposed to be doing? And I had one of those moments, and it felt so wonderful. In February, we started competition season, and then the third Saturday of February is always when we have our home meet. One of my best friends from like childhood who got married in July, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but she was like, hey, you know, my fiance has a brother and you guys should go on a date. And I was like, you try to set me up with everyone and it never works out. Like, bless her, she just knows so many good people, but that doesn't, just because you know good people doesn't mean the good people go together. Does that make sense? She's just surrounded by good friends, good family, and I am one of the good friends, you know? And so she knows a lot of really great people, and she would just like try to set me up, and it just, when it came down to it, things just didn't align, and that's okay. They're still good people, right? But so I was like, you know, like, I don't know, like, your fiance's a good guy, but like, who knows what his brother is like, all this stuff. And so him and I started Snapchatting just like a little bit, and I was like, hey, do you have a Saturday open? Like, my friend will be there, and you guys like know each other, obviously. Like, could you judge speech for me? And he was like, yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. Like, let me try it. I've never done it, but let me try. And I was so nervous the entire day. I was like, so he came, he judged for me, and then we went on a date afterwards. And I was so nervous. I didn't know what it was going to be like, and the date went so wonderful. And obviously, as you guys probably know, like, now we live together because that guy was Chad, and that's been super wonderful. But so we went on our first date in February, and we just started hanging out more and more, and we realized like how much we had in common, how much our values align, and it was just something so beautiful. So then, you know, moving into March, on March 1st, we decided that we were going to be officially boyfriend-girlfriend, which sure could be quick, but we're in our late 20s, and I felt like we had had all the conversations that I needed to have to feel confident in pursuing something more concrete with him, and it's working out just fine, you know, like we're very happy and healthy, and this is the most healthy relationship I've ever been in. And I think for him too, we're just, you know, we just love each other and we support each other, and it's just amazing not having to worry about my relationship 24/7, because that's how I felt in like past relationships. Like, it was constantly like bickering and fighting, and I was just having to worry about the other person all the time, and oh, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? And I just don't have to worry about that with him, and I don't have to worry that he's doing something wrong, or, you know, it feels really, really good. And so we go into March, and it's really just kind of been going with speech stuff. It gets a little bit monotonous. I did go to Chicago in March for work. That was super nice. I just love a road trip, and I love Chicago. I judged at national qualifiers for the first time, and that was so cool to see so many talented students and be able to, you know, adjudicate for them. And then I had a few students competing, and they did really well as well. So that was super nice. And then April was sections for the first time, and I was so nervous. I don't know why. Like, I had to take the day off work for sections, like off my day job. And I was so nervous because I was like, I don't know how my students are gonna do. Like, we've been working all season for this, you know. I just was all sorts of jumbled nerves, to the point where I over-caffeinated myself. I had coffee that morning, I had an Alani, and then we always go to Caribou on our way to the competition, and so then I had a coffee at Caribou. I was shaking for at least 4 hours, like I was, and then like the adrenaline and the nerves and all that stuff, like my assistant coach was like, are you good? I was like, I fear I might have effed myself pretty bad here. And she was just like laughing at me, like, why would you do that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. And so that brings us to the end of speech season, my first season coaching. It taught me so much. I learned so much about myself and how much I love working with students, particularly high school students, and it really made me think about like what I want to do long term. You know, I want to change my career and go to grad school for teaching, which is crazy, and I'm nervous, and maybe hopefully in 2026 I can start taking more proactive steps towards that. But so that was April, and then in May, I'm trying to think what happened in May. I'm not sure a ton happened in May. Two of my closest friends actually have their birthdays in May, so, you know, I celebrated that with them in different ways, and that was super, super nice. And then Mother's Day, me and my family went to the Como Zoo because we love the zoo and we love looking at all the flowers. And then we get into June, where there was so much going on all the time. I went to the National Speech and Debate Tournament in Des Moines, Iowa, so that was really fun, watching just nationally qualifying speeches from all over the United States. And then I had my friend who introduced Chad and I had her bachelorette party, which was a lot, but it was so much fun. Chad and I also went with his family to the Line & Kugel's like summer kickoff event. That was super, super fun. And then Chad and I actually took our first trip together. We went to Duluth the last weekend in June, and it was just so much fun. Went and ate a bunch of different food that we, you know, hadn't had before. We did some shopping. We walked around Lake Superior looking for agates. So that was super, super fun. And then we go into July, where my friend who with the bachelorette party, she got married, and I don't think the day could have gone any better. It ran so smoothly. No one got upset about anything. They had an open bar, which was super fun. Like, it was just a big party. And I was talking with Chad, because we were both in the bridal parties, right? And I was like, so, you know, having this, what do you think about like us getting married? Or because we had already talked about it a little bit, and I was pretty dead set up until that point that I was like, yep, I want a destination wedding, I want to elope, I don't want to do this big traditional wedding sort of thing. And Chad goes, I'd kind of like a more traditional wedding. And I was like, all right, let's start saving, you know, like let's do it. If you want it, we'll do it. Planning for that in our future is really, really exciting. And the wedding was just such a fun day. I felt so beautiful in my bridesmaid's dress, and like my hair, oh my gosh, I loved the way my hair turned out. I felt just so pretty with my hair up in all the little curls, and the woman who did our hair that day did a really, really, really good job. And it was fun because we were talking about like the romance books that we like, and it was just such a vibe. And then in August, Chad and I moved in together. We moved into the place that we are in now. And we do plan on being here for a while. I love our apartment. I love living here and sharing a life with him. I love that I get to wake up next to him every single day. And then in September, I had to travel a ton for work. I was in Mankato, Minnesota, Atlantic City, New Jersey, Cleveland, Ohio. And work trips are good. I like going on them. I don't mind traveling alone. I really don't have much to say about it. I've been doing it for a while. Wasn't my first rodeo. And I like traveling for work. I like my day job. But at the end of September, I actually did my first coaches conference for speech. And that was really, really nice, getting to meet other coaches from around the state and learning and trading ideas and just like making new friends. Just like learning new things about this activity that I had fallen back in love with in the year of 2025. Then in October, Chad and I went to North Carolina with his family for a family wedding, and that was super, super fun. We flew together for the first time. Everything went super, super well. The wedding was so fun. The venue was gorgeous. It was a ways out, but it was really nice because the couple scheduled a shuttle bus from the hotel where the block rooms were to the place. So they had one there and one back, and that made me think like that we need something like that at our wedding. Like if we want to have an open bar, we got to do something like that. And the venue was beautiful. It was like in this little valley, and there were just these huge hills around us, and it was the perfect time of the year where the leaves were just starting to change. So we had all sorts of like orange and red and green. It was gorgeous, and the weather was perfect. And one thing that was super fun is, so it was like kind of a barn, but you know what a wedding venue barn looks like. You know what I mean? And the dancing was outside. There was like this little concrete slab, but then it was just this wide open area where they had the ceremony earlier that day. And if you needed like a little bit of peace and quiet, you could just like go out and sit in the dark. And like Chad and I did, and we just like sat and looked up at the stars, and I was like, this is awesome. And then in November I turned 28, which has been, I don't know, I used to really fear turning 30. I was really scared of becoming old, kind of feeling like I was becoming irrelevant, like my life was over. But this year I really feel like I've stopped being afraid of aging. I'm no longer afraid of becoming old, because every single year I'm like, oh my gosh, like life is over, nothing new for me, blah blah blah, this is it. I have never felt more beautiful in my life. I've never felt smarter. I've never felt more capable. And every single year I just feel better and better about myself. And so I'm not going to sit and worry about aging. I was just given my breakfast, so we're taking a short break from the crochet. But yeah, I'm not afraid of aging anymore, which has been a really nice thing to take my mind off of. Chad and I also went to Sioux Falls for my birthday, and it was so nice. I got to eat at all my favorite places. I got to shop at all my favorite stores. We walked around the falls, like just a wonderful weekend. We got cocktails, which Chad and I love cocktails. And then that brings us to December. And I really haven't been doing a lot this December. I've had a few Saturdays off because I was debate judging a lot in the fall. So it has been nice having a few Saturdays off before I go into speech season again, where all my weekends will be spoken for again. You know, I had the season start. I've got my students starting to work on things, which has been nice. I also posted every single day in the month of December. I used to be so intimidated when people would talk about like, oh, I'm doing Vidmas or Vlogmas or whatever. And I was like, gosh, there's no way I would ever be able to do that. This video will be going up on December 31st of 2025. I'm just chilling. Today is just one of those days where I do have to get some filming done, but my boyfriend and I have been doing more, like we've been sitting out in the living room together, and he plays his games on the TV and I've been playing my Switch more. And that's been really, really nice for us, just to be able to be in each other's presence. And I have this thing where I isolate a lot, not for any reason. I think it's just because I'm used to like spending so much time alone. I'm like, oh, let me be alone in here and you do your thing. And he's like, but I miss you. And I'm like, oh, yes, yep, you're right. So that's something that I'm working on. But 2025 was a great year. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I know that was just a lot of yapping. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!